Okay, this is a knife. This is a video on hook knife safety. So again, notice that my hook knife has a sheath. It's always in its sheath unless I'm actively using it in my hand. If I'm not using it, sheath goes on it. So let's see. I use hook knives in only one way. I use them choked up on my hand. So this is the rounded spine of the blade. You can see it's nice and round, not sharp at all. That is the sharp edge right there. There are some Mora hook knives that have a sharp edge on either side, and those are not particularly safe to use for this because you need to be choked up on the blade, meaning your hand needs to actually physically be almost on the blade for you to get a lot of power in what I'm doing. So the way I use hook knives is the back spine of the blade sits right here in the main crease of my forefinger, and then the rest of my fingers grip. And that way you can see when my hand is closed, the hook knife is still a certain distance away from my thumb. That's important because my thumb is always going to be on the side of the bowl, no matter which side I am. And so that way, before the knife hits my hand, it's choked up in my fist. It can't really go any further. If you are back here on the blade, the knife can hit your thumb. It's just a simple function of physics. So the further choked down you are, the further the edge of the knife is out, right? Does that make sense? Because your hand is sort of, the knife is sort of coming this way in your hand. So keep the knife down like there. That'll also give you more power. These knives, a lot of knives, are made with a longer handle so that you can do this style of carving where you actually have these fingers are guiding the knife and you're either holding your hand out like this and doing rotation or twisting like this. I find this motion very hard on my hand. The sort of overextension of these muscles is really hard on me. So I find it much easier on my hand, more relaxed, to hold the knife choked up like this, and then as I'm carving, you can see that the edge of the knife might come close to my thumb, but it's never actually going to touch my thumb. And even if it does touch my thumb, it's so choked up at that point that there's no more momentum to it. If you're backed off like this, there is a very real possibility, especially if you're following the advice of some people, to exit up and over your thumb. There's a very real possibility that instead of exiting over your thumb, you're going to hit your thumb and you're going to cut a nasty flap of skin on the top of your thumb. So my advice is choke up on your knife and don't try to exit over your thumb. Instead, stop your cut before you get to your thumb. If you end up stopping your cut and you can't exit cleanly out of the cut, that's okay. You can just turn it around and come back at it like this. So again, as with any tool, you should be able to use it to take off tiny little nibbles. If you can't take off little scraps of wood as easily as you can take off real big chunks of wood, then you need to look to your technique, because you should be able to do both. And if you can only cut successfully when you're using lots of force, that's a sign that something's wrong in your form and you're gonna hurt yourself eventually. So you should be able to back off and be as gentle as you possibly need to be in any situation coming from any direction. We'll cover more about grain flow in the bowls of spoons for now. In a later video, but for now, just notice that I'm like coming in from all different angles, and that I'm not sticking to just coming across the spoon in one direction. And know that I do all of my spoons with just one knife. You don't need a right and a left hook in order to do the bowls of your spoons. You just need a hook that has the right shape, and you need the right technique and the right understanding of the way the grain flow is. So we'll cover that later. For now, I just wanted to cover the safe stuff, the safety stuff. So have fun. Get carving.